So, as you guys know, I have played a lot of Where Winds Meet over the last days. A lot. A lot. And I think we can all agree that this game has an absurd amount of content. So much that even after, I don't know, 120 hours or even more, I still discover new things on a daily basis. And specifically when it comes to progression and endgame and some of the deeper systems, I have learned a lot in the last days. And in today's video, I want to talk about some of these things so you can save some valuable lifetime and also avoid making the same mistakes that I did. So keep watching. And if you like these kinds of videos and you want to support my channel, potentially maybe hitting the 10K someday, consider leaving a like and maybe also a sub to the channel. That would help me a lot. Thank you very much. And if you run a guild and you don't want your guild mates to make these mistakes and be prepared for the end game, send them the video. All of that aside, let's jump in. All right, let's start with the first thing, which is your exploration skills. So I gotta tell you, most people that I spoke to didn't know these even exist. So if you go into your menu and go to develop, you will have a button on the top right saying details. In this window, you can see all your stats and attributes, which can be very important for some path challenges that require you to have a certain amount of physical attack, for example. So you can see exactly what your stats look like at the moment. And in this second segment, you can also see your exploration attributes, for example, intelligence or constitution, which you increase with certain exploration tasks in the game. Now, the important thing is this second tab over here, exploration skills, because there are certain skills that make exploration easier for you. For example, one of the most important skills that I still haven't unlocked because I am lazy as hell is Treasure Seeker, which shows you the closest chest on the minimap in the first two regions. And for that, you need 75 perception, which is pretty easy to get, and 75 elegance. And if you want to know how you increase your elegance, you can just click on it and it will literally tell you, either through the gourmet mode or by kitten hunting, which is not hunting kittens, don't get me wrong, but instead you have to pet kittens. Whenever you see a kitten around the map, pet them. And whenever you do that, you get 1 elegance. So I highly recommend go through these exploration skills. Maybe there is something that you really want to have that makes exploration easier for you. It also affects, for example, like building, because if you unlock this, your buildings will be more durable, stuff like that. All right, next up, we are talking about upgrading your weapons and the materials that you need for that, because there's a way to farm that pretty easily. So you will need a lot of these materials, and there are also other kinds, but all of them are dropped by mobs. And you can also get a few of them in the Battle Pass shop, but that is very limited, so you mostly drop them from mobs. Keep in mind, different weapons need different types of materials, and most of the mobs that you need are present in any of these red camps over here. It's important to note that you don't have to finish the camp, because if you beat everyone, you beat the boss, the camp will be unavailable until the next day. So what you want to do is go into the camp, kill the mobs, and just reset. And the reset is pretty easy. You can just use the flying ability, fly up, come back down, and everything is going to be reset. Unless you killed everyone and the boss, because then it's not going to reset. There's one really easy one. Let me just show you one that is like really easy for farming, which is that one over here in Kfang. What you have to keep in mind is that most of these camps have explosive barrels, and that will help you a lot. So in this particular camp, you can just jump on this roof, shoot this barrel over here, collect the stuff, kill these 2 people, loot them, and then you can just fly up, come back down, and everything should have been reset. Shoot it again, loot it, shoot it, loot it. And maybe you're lucky and they didn't see you, so you can just fly up, come back down. There's even a more effective way of that, a trick which involves building and even macros So you can auto farm, but I'm not going to talk about that because I think that is not okay. That is a little too much. But that method is great for farm. And it has been present in the Chinese version forever. So I don't think that it's not intended. So you are allowed to do that if you want to farm materials. Now, of course, there are higher rare materials that won't be that easy to farm, but it works. All right, next up, we are talking about two specific guild features. The first one is about guild transporter or cargo deliveries, because I think it's not really explained well, but it can give you a lot of rewards and it's really easy actually. So what you want to do is you just want to go to this NPC in the guild base, which is just whenever you enter the guild base, it's straight walking ahead. And this NPC wants you to deliver materials. And for that, you will receive rewards. And of course, you can just collect the stuff and deliver it. But the more easy way is you can just click on it and how to obtain, and you can buy it. And thanks to the rewards for the guild event, you will just get the money back. So it's easy and worth it. Whenever you delivered all the stuff that the NPC wants, he will reset and you can do it again. And I think you can do that 3 times until you are done for the week. It's really that simple. I really thought it's more complicated, like I have to get stuff somewhere and bring it somewhere else and protect it, or no, it's just literally buying and delivering. Okay, next up, I want to talk about the topic of trading. So there is a kind of a market trading system in the game. I'm not talking about player trading. This will be released in a later version too, but I'm talking about simple market trading of products, like buy stuff and sell it somewhere else for a better pricing. Now, this is specifically important for one of your guild quests, which is earn commerce coins this week. And these commerce coins are also a very important currency in the game that you will need for a lot of endgame stuff. So in order to really use this feature, you need friends. I'm sorry for some of you, but you will need some friends. So you want to come to Kaifeng, to this teleport over here, and you want to go to this location. So there are different trading products in the game that have no other purpose than being for trading, but 3 of them are affected by the market system at the moment. And it works like that. So first of all, I recommend you to buy 1 of each of these 3 items, because if you own 1, you can see the market pricing of these items when you talk to this specific NPC. 2 of these items you can get at the vendor right next to this location, which is Fang's Trade Hall. So right now it is the porcelain vase and storex. But you can see that he also has other trade goods. They are not affected by the market right now, but I think they are going to rotate. So technically, if you want to prepare for the next week, your pricing might be high. You can also already stock up on these items. And at this NPC, you can also rent a house, which is very important, not for housing, because you can build your own houses in the game, but for slots for trading goods. And the 3rd item can currently be found at this location over here at Wang Luoming, which is Rami right now. As you can see, it is affected by the current price fluctuation this week. So for me, it's very expensive. It doesn't make any sense to buy it unless I have a friend that has a even higher pricing right now. But there are also other NPCs in this corner that also sell trading goods. So I assume these trading goods will also be in the rotation in another week, but not for now. So you can also already stock up if you have enough place in your house. Now, if something has a high pricing in your world, you don't want to buy it in this week. And sometimes, depending on the pricing, if it's really, really high, the game doesn't even allow you to buy it. It just tells you it's sold out. But usually, if one of these items is really expensive in your world, the other 2 items will be normal price, which means you want to buy the maximum amount of these 2 items. And then you want to check the list of your friends and which of your friends' world has the highest pricing for this item currently. And if you found someone with a very high pricing for this specific item, you want to ask him if you can join his world. And then you do that. And then you go to the same NPC where you check the prices to sell the items. So you bought them for a low pricing in your world and you sell it for a high pricing in another world. It's not working the other way around, so you can't buy stuff in other players' worlds and sell it in yours. So the one item that is highly priced in your world for this week is useless for you. You just want to buy the other two and find other players that have a high pricing for it. And these commerce coins are important, and I will tell you why in a second. Next topic is about food and scripts. So in the end game, you really want to have a high gear score by upgrading your weapons, upgrading your martial arts, upgrading your inner ways, also very important. It's probably one of the most important things actually. But if you want to min-max, you will also want to use buff food and scripts, because buff food and scripts can become really, really strong in the end game. So buff food can either be crafted if you go to your bag and you go to the crafting menu over here. You can go to cooking and then you see different recipes that you have unlocked. And if you eat something, you will unlock the recipe for it. And you can also get recipes from different quests, from the normal, like the free gacha polls and stuff like that. So different ways to get recipes. And you will have to collect the materials and then cook the food. So it's important. It doesn't seem important in the early game, but it's important because that buff food can give you 5,600 more max HP. That's just a very weak one. So there's better stuff in the game. There's buff food that increases your physical attack for a certain time frame. There's even buff food that gives you a chance to harvest double the amount of herbs when you gather herbs for healing pots. So like this one, for example, 20% chance for extra harvest from herbs gathering or hunting. So buff food can become really important in the game. And the same goes for scripts, which kind of is like buff food. You read something and you get an effect for a certain time frame. For example, this script over here reduces dodge endurance cost by 5% and increase movement speed by 5% for 10 minutes. So of course there will be better scripts in the game, and in the end game, whenever you go into guild wars or you go into high-end raids or you want to go gather, you want to eat the best possible food and you want to read the best possible script before that. And you can craft the scripts with the scholar profession. So that is when the scholar profession really comes into play. Because right now I always felt like healer was the most important one, because when it comes to scholar, you rarely find someone who needs your profession to help them out. But if you upgrade it, you can go into talisman crafting, and these are the scripts in the game. So you will need a certain scholar level to craft these scripts, and there's some pretty good stuff. For example, if HP is below 30%, both damage dealt and taken are increased by 20%, for example. So there's a lot of stuff. So just to sum it up, buff food and scripts really, really important in the end game. Now, I told you that you can craft buff food, but there's actually a way to also buy it. And for that, you need to go to stall owners. And the biggest problem with that, they are not marked on the map. You have to find them yourself. Like, they are marked on the minimap. As you can see, I'm looking at one right now, but they are not marked on the big map. So you have to remember their position once you find them, and you know that they have a specific buff food that you want in the future. You have to remember their position. So what you want to do is you want to go to them and you want to go to let me have a taste. And they will always have two types of buff food. The second one will be locked. In order to unlock it, you have to buy the first one once. There's also a reward for getting the maximum affection, and these chests are really important in the game, so I recommend just buying the buff food as much as you need in order to maximize the affection. I think for most of them it's 20 times, so you just buy 20 more of them and then you have maxed them out, can get the chest and the other rewards, of course. And it's also important, I really recommend you to buy each dish at least once, even if it's something you don't want to use in the future, because if you eat something for the first time, you will get 1 point of elegance, and as we just talked about, you need elegance in order to unlock chest finding on the map. And just going back to the menu, as you can see, in order to buy these buff food dishes, I need commerce coins, and we get them through trading. I already explained how trading worked. If you accidentally skipped that section, I recommend you go back. And you can buy these these dishes infinitely as long as you have commerce coins. Obviously, you can't farm infinite amounts of commerce coins, but technically, if you find good vendors with buff food that you need for the end game, you can always buy it instead of craft it. But you will have to remember the location where they are. All right, the next tip is about the trials in the game. So if you go to Wandering Paths and you go to trials, you have different boss trials in the game and you can beat them on different difficulty levels, and this will give you different rewards. Like for example, if you finish all the subtasks over here, you will get a badge for your profile. Now what's important to note, and I didn't know that, is that the game always gives you a recommended set, a recommended art combination. You can also go to switch combination and you can technically use one that you created yourself, but I found out that the recommended set is boosted. So your set will be far weaker, which is a problem, not gonna lie, because doing Tianying with the tank combination is the worst thing I can imagine. But unfortunately, if you want to have it easier and you don't want to be too shot, because it literally affects the gear that you have, you should go with the recommended set. Even though if you hate the tank combination, it's gonna be a pain for you, but it is how it is. What should I say? And if you are playing on Legend, by the way, beating these bosses on Abyss will give you 1 extra counter for your boss counter on the bottom, like next to your HP bar, and also for your profile badge. So if you want to get this counter up, you should try to beat these bosses on Abyss. And to have it easier, go with the recommended sets, unfortunately. All right, next up, we are going to talk about gear tuning. So once you hit level 41, you are able to tune your gear, which will increase its quality and it will unlock extra substats and ultimately make your gear stronger and your gear score higher. So if I go to a newly acquired weapon, for example, I can go to tune and then I can choose fodder to tune the weapon. Now the first thing I want to talk about is that there is different fodder with these icons. These weapons are not supposed to be used as active weapons. They are literally supposed to be used as fodder. If they have a golden sign, they will give the weapon that they are used for as fodder a golden extra attribute. If you just use normal stuff, it's random. You can get golden attributes, but you can also just get blue attributes. So the quality is going to be different. But if you use one with these icons, you will 100% get a golden one. You can also use these stones, but you will have enough gear to do it without stones, to be honest. So once you are done with tuning and you unlocked all the sub slots for your gear, you technically have the chance to attune something, which is adding another effect to the item, and for that you will need to use attunement stones, and they are a little harder to get, specifically when we reach endgame. Now it's a little easier, but when we're talking about 61 gear and above, it will be harder to get these stones. So before you use these stones, I highly recommend tuning multiple gear parts of that slot and only attune the best item you can possibly get. And you can see what really fits your weapon combinations by this recommended icon over here. So you want as many recommended substats as possible and also of a high quality. So gold is perfect, purple is okay, blue is, well, it is there. So if you, for example, have 3 golden substats and they are all recommended, absolutely attune it and use it. And of course, you also want to make sure that you use a full set. So 4 items of 1 set in the gear slots and 4 items of 1 set in the left slots. So find a set that works with your weapon combination. And if you play one of the recommended combinations of the game, you can even find the best possible sets that you should use in these path guides. But what I want to say is, specifically when we reach endgame, try to farm multiple gear items for your slot that have your set, then attune them, and if they have good substats that are recommended and of high quality, then use attunement stones to unlock the final slot. The next thing I want to talk about is that the inner ways in the game are probably the biggest power spikes that you can possibly get in the game. I underestimated them a lot. They are really, really important. So if you go to Inner Way Breakthrough, you can unlock different breakthroughs for your inner art, and that will add a lot of power to your moveset. So for example, if you play Nameless Sword, you probably know Sword Morph. So what Sword Morph does is when you are finished with your Q combo and you have this shield, you can shoot multiple waves, which is really strong. Now, if you manage to get your first breakthrough for this inner art, you can even shoot waves just after doing this backslash, which is crazy. You don't have to do the full combo, you can just do one backslash and then shoot multiple waves. And that is just the first breakthrough. This inner art has even more breakthroughs, and I've seen videos of Chinese players shooting 30 waves, so it probably can be very, very powerful if you upgrade it the full way. Now, in order to upgrade your inner arts, you will need notes. And the best way to get these notes is to use these Inner Way note chests, and these chests are really important. So whenever you see a way in the game to get these chests, you should probably consider doing it, because this will be one of the most important things up until Endgame, next season, the season after that, and beyond. So, and whatever you get out of these chests is random. You can not really tell what you get out of it. You get some random stuff, which means you can be really lucky, but also really, really unlucky. Now, the good thing is you can go to your first tab in the bag and then to develop. And then on the bottom, you can go to tips recycle, and then you can recycle the nodes that you don't need. So if you know you will never ever play tank weapons, you can pick the tank nodes for the tank inner ways and basically destroy them. But if I destroy a few of them, I will get these vintage booklets. And if I go to the develop menu and to Inner Way and then to tips exchange, I can buy chests with these notes. Now, of course, you want to know whichever path your weapon combination belongs to. So I use Strategic Sword and Nameless Sword. They both belong to Bell Strike. So I want to buy the Bell Strike recommended chest because it mostly has higher chances for Bell Strike scripts. And you buy them and you get random stuff. So I got one Sword Morph note. I still need 17 more to break through to the next level. Now, there are different endgame modes that will require you to use energy that will give you these chests. For example, outposts will give you one chest. Joint battles also give you one chest per clear. And these boss challenges will give you 3 chests, for example. And there's also another important way how to get them. Click on improvement guide over here. And then you have the different recommended combinations that the game has, and you can go to challenges. Now, what's important for now is these not red challenges, the blue ones and the green ones, because they are not seasonal, they are permanent challenges. And if you finish them, you will get small rewards. But if you click on all path challenges over here, finishing as many as possible will give you 20 chests. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to finish as many of these path combination as possible without wasting materials. So for example, if I go to the healer one and they require me to upgrade both weapons to tier 3, I will not do it because it literally requires me to level them to 55 or something. I don't want to do that, but technically getting a 4-piece set, like gear set of either Ivory Bloom or Whirl Snow gear sets is not really that hard. Or for example, unlocking all the inner ways that you need is just doing a quest to unlock these inner ways. So that is stuff that you can do. If I would be you, I would try to do as many of these permanent season path guide challenges to unlock some of these chests over here. They are really important. We are craving chests right now. And I tell you, developing your inner ways is a game changer. It will make you so much more powerful. Another quick tip is don't waste all of the Echo Jade. I know you can use it for the free gacha system, and there's some cool stuff in there. But you also need it to buy stuff from certain NPCs. For example, this NPC right here on the map sells you tuning stones for level 56 and level 61 tuning, for example. So he also sells you pages for moral chant, which is one of the strongest inner ways, like this one over here. It's really, really strong in order to learn it. So make sure to use it to buy all of the stuff before you start doing free gacha pulls with it, because this is really, really important, because there will probably be more NPCs and ways to spend these jade in the future besides the gacha draws, of course. All right, and lastly, I wanted to help you out with material collection. So first thing I noted, I already did that in one of my last segments in this video. So if you, for example, plan to collect herbs for the next 30 minutes, make sure to eat the buff food that boosts your herb collection, so you maybe get multiple herbs at the same time. Let's say I want to craft these pots over here and I am running out of herbs. Now, you can buy a few of them each week, but if you do a lot of bosses, you will ultimately run out of these pots eventually, and you will need to gather them. So for example, for this pot, I need Jade Tower Peony. Now you can go to the map and then you click on this icon over here, and then you have different items that you can filter for. And I want to find Jade Tower Peony, so I just make sure to put a check mark in, and then you can see that these items are shown on my map. Now, if I track one and I just get on my horse, it will lead me to the item that I need. So as you can see on the minimap, I am now wherever this herb is supposed to be. Now, I can collect it by hand, but sometimes you will have multiple herbs on one position, like 3 over here, for example. They will be scattered in this area. Now, if you don't want to spend any money, you can pick it by hand. So you can just go there, pick it by hand, and then it will show you the next location where the next herb is going to be found. But if you are willing to spend any money, I highly recommend you buy this mount over here, the blue one, because it will give you an ability if you are mounted that you can press. It's on the bottom, it's this one over here, and if you press it, it will collect everything around you unless it is visible. So right now, as you can see, it only collected 1, so probably the other 2 are not, like maybe behind this house or something. But for example, in this area, there should be 2. If I press X, I got 2. So now I can just ride to the next location, which should be over there. Of course, flying is quicker, but I don't want to unmount and mount again, so I just ride. And then I press X again. I got both again. So I ride to the next location. So it will make collection easier. Of course, it's also collecting other stuff surrounding you. So not just these items, but also other items that you need. So it is pay to lazy. If you want to call it that, it is pay to lazy, but I highly recommend getting it. And these resources that you can see, they are empty now. So I can't collect them today. They will be reset tomorrow. So if you want to stack up healing resources, you should consider doing some of them every day. But this information is particularly important because upgrading your mystical skills is also very important for combat. It makes a huge difference in the damage that you deal. And in order to upgrade them to higher tiers, you will need purple resources. Like for the Beauty's Plume, I need to gather Beauty's Garment, which are these types of plants. I can also activate the filter on the map. But as you can see, this is not a guaranteed drop. So technically, if you want to upgrade your mystical skills a lot, you should already start collecting all of these plants to drop as many of these like collectibles as possible. And there is buff food that increases your critical chance to drop these rare drops from the herbs. So that's where buff food comes into play. So as you can see, the end game material gathering is really complex and it's a grind, and you will have to use everything at your proposal, for example, buff food. But that is it for this video. Let me tell you, there is so much more to know about this game that is not self-explanatory. I could make 10 more videos, so I will probably make more videos. But if there's anything that you found out that was not self-explanatory to you, share that in the comment section below, and I might put it in one of my next videos. So thank you for that already. But let me know in the comment section below, did you know all of this or was something new to you? Now, I have been in the menu of the game a lot, and if the menu is still too much for you, I made a whole video explaining the menu and how its structure is supposed to function, so I recommend checking this video out. It's a good one. And if you don't have the time, thank you for watching this video. I see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye bye.